now. So today we're gonna go ahead and look at a bunch of St1ckBug's replays. For those of you guys who are wondering why we're doing this so early, as usually we're scheduled for 5 p.m. It's 3 something, so St1ckBug personally requested we do this earlier because he's an old man. He has to go to bed like hella fucking early. Anyways. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at these. Let me see if... Let's read his comments on this email. My situational awareness and movement are terrible. You'll be able to see that in probably every replay. I also probably play better as a back student. There were a couple games where I played back with Raft clans and did well. So due to my internet, I actually didn't get a chance to pick one. So I recorded 4. They're all pretty similar. So I'm just gonna grab one out of the bag and we'll go ahead and take a look at it. I cheated this time though because I was gonna pick one for him, so I actually looked at these, so this won't be a dry run. But we can do something fun with chat, so if people in chat want to try and watch this dry and see if you guys can point out things that we can talk about, definitely do that by participating in chat. Other than that, we'll just go ahead and look through this stuff right now, so let's go ahead. I don't actually remember which one this is, so we're gonna find out. Okay, so... Oh, okay, this one. So, St1ckBug's playing Banshee with Air's Providence versus Raft Clans and MLG Lord Knight. Don't know who MLG Lord Knight is. I want to know. But MLG Lord Knight. It's probably like Diando or something. I don't know. Anyways. So there's already a couple of things I remember from watching this beforehand. But we're gonna go ahead and just watch this one time through, as always. Not really be too nitty gritty. I might comment randomly on things like ammo there. You got away with that. It's good. It's not die. Okay. You guys can see my mouse, right? Yeah, good. Okay. Where's the separator? You can't really put a separator we're pretty low here. Oh my god. I am surprised that CSA worked. That's a situation where we won. Oh, we did get that. 1 HP, the god. That's right, we're playing with Providence, so it's pretty okay to die first here. Generally preferred. Okay. Well, we're gonna talk about that. That's really important. Womp. Okay. That's cool. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is burst usage. Burst usage is really, really important. First of all, also if anybody else wants to mention things, you can just go ahead and just spam chat. But the big one is how to use our burst. So bursting is really important, especially as a 2.5k. Usually when you play back, most people generally rely on a defensive full burst, but if we're gonna play 2.5k front, it's actually a pretty delicate cost for using burst. So let's go ahead and rewind here. So I say this a lot, but right here, yeah. So once you get to this health, yeah, this like 160-ish. where we're right about to get our burst. Very close here, you know. We probably need to hit the guy like 4 more times to get our burst. Hard to say, like, you know, block like 5 times or something like that. 4. So this life here, 160. It's very, very important to be very careful at around this point when you're about to hit your first half. It's really, really important. Now, let's just review. It's really important to review the ways you get meter, right? So I already mentioned 2 of them: hitting the opponent, right? Blocking, obviously taking damage. But 2 other big ones. When your partner dies and when you kill the opponent. Now in this particular situation, neither opponent is really close to dying, but it's really important to be aware of those extra factors that happen, because those are factors that don't necessarily mean that you need to be involved to gain meter. The rest of the ways that you gain meter involve you actually being in there and either dishing out damage or taking damage. In this particular situation, if we want to basically... So, the rule of thumb is you want to have as much health as possible when you burst, right? You want to have as much health as possible when you burst. So this means that around the 160 HP margin, this is where you want to make sure that you take no extra damage and you deal as much damage as possible and potentially shield when you can, so that you get, you know, obviously if we're at 160 and we get our first burst, it's like really good. I'm pretty happy with bursting at 160 on my first life. It's pretty satisfactory. Okay, so we get it. I take that back. Okay, so we just get it here. Okay, so never mind. Ignore what I was about to say. He just got this burst from landing the rest of this BC, which is really great. It's like a really, really great point to potentially burst and use our burst. So at this point here, we want to be thinking about how to use our burst without taking damage. That's really the important part. And why do I say without taking damage? Because yes, it's true that you generally, especially when you're using blast, when you use blast, you also take less damage in burst. But there's it's always bad to take damage when in burst, even when it doesn't actually influence whether you will get 2 versus 3 bursts. Because assuming you get at least 1 more burst after your first burst, the more damage you take, while in burst, it means the lower life you'll be at the next time you can burst. Okay, so for example, if we burst here at 160, then we'll be able to burst again after we die at let's say 450. 500 maybe, depending on whether or not we wait till Providence dies. That's just like my guess. I honestly am pretty bad at burst numbers for 2.5Ks, because I will admit I actually don't really care much about 2.5K cost in this version of the game, so I don't really have very much inherent math on me. But let's just say roughly like 400. Let's just say super like 400. Okay, let's say 400. So let's say our next burst is at 400. If we burst here and then we take damage and die, I think it'll be higher than that. But let's just say 400. So what if instead when we burst, we take 100 points of damage? Technically, it would be more before proration, but let's say we take 100 points of prorated damage, so that we're at 60 HP when our burst wears off. Okay, so our burst wears off, we're at 60 instead of 160. What does this mean? It means that when we take 60 damage, we die, and then we're on our second life, blah blah blah. It means that being at 60 versus 160 means we took 100 less damage before dying, right? This means we took actually 100 less damage that was converted into burst meter, which means we have to wait to take another 100 damage in order to actually hit 50. So if our second burst was going to be at 400 HP, having been at 160, then if we waited till 60 HP, if we took 100 points of damage in burst, then we won't get our second burst till 300 instead of 400. Does this make sense? This should make sense, right? Basically, when you're in burst, the damage you take doesn't give you meter. So however much damage you take while in burst, that much damage you didn't get, so you have to take that much more damage to get your next burst. So instead of getting our second burst at 400, because we took 100 damage of unnecessary, uncalculated damage, we get our second burst at 300 instead, right? 300 instead of 400. So it's really, really important because it means that wherever this match is when we're at our, next burst, now pay no attention to this. So, if we died at 160, we would definitely have our burst here, right? And if we died at 30 or something, maybe we don't have our burst here. Assuming, whatever, right? These are all hypothetical numbers. But let's just say I just randomly scrubbed here and we're at 358, and whether or not we'd even have a second half burst at this point actually really depended on whether or not we died in burst, took damage in burst, etc, etc, etc. If we died in burst, we definitely wouldn't have it for sure, 100%, right? And that's a very obvious case. And like around this time, Wrath Clans is very low. It would be really nice to use our burst and kill him. Let's see what the other guy's at. Yeah, so it'd be great. We could use our burst push and Kshatriya here. Blah blah blah. Anyways, so basically, you always want to. Obviously, being able to have access to your burst earlier rather than later is always beneficial, because there are situations that maybe occurred earlier in the game, and with the AG, I wish I had my burst to punish this situation, but I didn't. Or maybe you did something bad when you're at 600, 500 HP, and you wish you had burst to save yourself, etc. So, bursting. Okay, so wait, hold up. Okay, here we go. Where are we here? Oh, we're at. Here we go. So we land this boomerang BC. And so we're in burst, so this is a really nice place to burst. We land this BC. Ah, yes. So we take damage here. We were cut, right? So ignoring everything else, is this? I mean, well, okay. So it looked like, was air knocked down? Hard to see here. What is air doing? Okay, so air is not really helping out in this fight. I mean, this. Where is it? So this 6B, is this BC? This is something. I think this is 6B. 6B? 5B? I actually don't know what that is. This melee of some sort. Sorry, I don't really actually remember much of fucking Banshee's normals, but yeah, anyways. So this melee, this is actually not that bad, right? Because, oh, it's BD melee. Okay, it's BD melee. Wait. Ah! BD, okay, right, it's BD melee. So, let's, okay, here we go. So, I'm just gonna say that you probably should have bursted here, honestly, because if MLG Lord Knight was on his game, he probably would have Garabeed you for doing something. I think he missed his punish. He should have had a punish. Maybe he was preoccupied, but looking at the mini-map, it looks like he just messed up, or he was in the middle of running away. He definitely could have Garabeed you unless he didn't have a Garabeed. But that's not the point. So regardless of bursting, is probably, I would definitely have bursted here. I would definitely recommend bursting here. But even without that, first of all, it should be, so, let me see if I can rewind this here. So like, since we have no boost, we probably should have been landing punished here. And we can't really see what Kshatriya is doing, honestly, because we just changed our radar, which is not a big deal. Yeah, we don't know. We don't have the information. That's fine. But like when we see him doing this here in the air, I think he's making a fence or something right here, right? Like, okay, so this is great. We got away with landing without using our burst, because it looks like MLG Lord Knight is occupied defending himself or trying to hit Providence. But your spider senses should be tingling here, right? Because this is, you know, I call this all the time. What is this? This is us successfully landing. Our opponent is in the air. This is a extremely optimal time to hit this guy, right? So honestly, I think it's okay to even just full YOLO on this guy at this point, because he definitely has, at the very least, less than 50% boost, if not even less, based on the fact that he wasn't really doing anything at us. Probably means he's maybe low on boost, didn't want to YOLO in, right? I mean, you know, whatever. And this here, right? So we definitely actually could have been very aggressive here. So I think that this decision, I think this fence is a little bit, I mean, I think a boomerang would have been better. A lot of things I think would have been better than fence. But being aggressive in this situation isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? So it's not a bad thing, right? And we do land this melee. So it's not a bad situation to do this in, right? On paper. MLG Lord Knight was low on boost. He's also 2k. We just stole a landing, and we have the other guy like sort of knocked down, right? So this isn't a terrible situation to do something in, and we do succeed in landing this melee. So what's the problem here? Well, the problem is we're in burst, or sorry, we were not in burst, but we were at the threshold of burst. We're at the threshold of burst, and we took damage. Yeah. Also keep in mind that everything I'm talking about is with 2.5k being front, because is a 2.5k being back, most people will tell you that you should just save your full burst, and a lot of this discussion is really null. But basically, going for the melee here is a problem, because we got cut and we took damage. So even though we hit Kshatriya, this ended up actually being a pretty nice situation for the other team, because Lord Knight doesn't take that much damage, and they get a pretty good cut. They did 159, right? So it's actually probably more before Guts. And they put us in a basically terrible place to burst, right? I mean, you don't really want to burst at 1 HP. You could. There are some reasons why you would want to, but it's pretty objective that this situation here, 1 HP with 70% burst, is much worse of a situation objectively than this, you know, this situation here where we land this BC knockdown and we have our burst, right? This is a really optimal situation. I will say that again, this is an ideal place to be. I mean, it would be nice if you had even more HP, right? But I mean, having your exactly 150 and getting it from landing a knockdown melee, that's pretty rare, honestly. That kind of nice, ideal situation doesn't come out often. It's kind of, you know, it's very hard to control. Because you do not get very much meter for landing any hits, and any random stray bolt that will hit you will immediately tick you into some other much worse health range. So this is a really ideal situation, and so you really want to cherish this kind of situation and make sure that you don't really take any kind of unnecessary damage, even if it means hitting the guy, right? Like even if we had landed a full combo on Kshatriya, but we got cut, I would probably say it's not worth it. It would be honestly better, if anything. So I'll give some objective suggestions, but this is definitely not this is not what I would say you have to do, but just to give you some suggestions of what you could do. Other than that, you could have bursted here and then hit Kshatriya, and you would have hit him like for sure, as long as you didn't get hit by a fence. You could have bursted here after the melee, rainbow stepped it to prevent yourself from being cut, and finished with a BR, and while filling yourself to a lot of boost, making it so that even the 00 player probably wouldn't have been able to hit you, as assuming that our partner supports us here. Yeah. You could have also, well, those are the two main things you could have done. You could have also, you could have bursted here before the melee reached. You could have actually, well, you could have bursted anywhere here. You could have bursted here. Actually, this is honestly a pretty okay place to burst as well. And then tried to Zunda down the Kshatriya. Anyways. In any case, we're here. This is the result. You know, we're at 1 HP with a burst. Our partner is really low. We die. So here is. So here's the other thing. Well, we're gonna see. I'm pretty sure we're gonna definitely see. Because I think we get hit. Right? Okay, 510. 510. 510. Alright. There's two things you can do in this situation. There's two things. Alright. You can use this burst. Okay, you can use this burst. Or you can wait till you get hit and then burst. Now, we already know, it's unfortunate also that Providence already died here, so we don't get that meter. But we already know that 1ckBug is going to choose to take the full, right? So here is why I never recommend people to defensive burst unless you have a very specific plan. Alright. 510. If you use your burst and you don't take any more damage, you'll be at 510 after the burst wears off, right? Does anybody know whether or not you get another burst after this if you use it at 510? The answer is yes, you do. You get another burst, right? So we'll have received another burst if we burst here and don't take any damage, right? It's very important. So we get hit by a little bit of like Garabees or whatever. 490, 432, 432. So the first time we take damage after being at a full, we could have bursted this hit, right? We could have bursted this 2B, and I wouldn't be surprised if we did. It is 2B, right? So 432. This is that. Sorry, there's some other crap that hits us. But 432. If we full burst here, right? Do we get another burst? It's pretty hard at 432. Now we haven't killed either of them yet, but our partner already died. That's a big problem. Our partner already died. 432. It's pretty hard to get another burst from 432, especially because when we get our burst, you might need to be at like, you know, you might need to be at like, you know, 50 HP or 30 HP, and you probably need to block. Honestly, like 432 after this burst, assuming we don't take any damage, to get another burst, you probably need to shield well, or be dishing out a lot of damage. Both honestly. So I think that pretty much is it right there. So 510, good place. We burst there. We can have another burst. Not really questionable. We'll definitely get it as long as we don't super fuck up, right? Or eat something at like 120 and just immediately die. Like from like a super or something at like, you know, 200, something like that. But we waited just one heartbeat longer, and we got hit by a one stray bullet, and it put us down to 432 because it's, you know, Well, we got hit by, technically we got hit by Kushatriya's funnels, like, you know, once or twice, and then we got hit by Riser 2B. But basically, like, you know, the idea that you can be at a full burst and then wait till something hits you and then burst and expect it to be okay is not the case. It is not the case, and when, depending on how much life you're at, you can, by letting yourself get hit at least once, you will actually be denying yourself a second burst. So this is actually one scenario where what happens is we burst. Well, okay, so that's the other thing, right? So why didn't he burst that? Right? He burst it. Why didn't he burst this hit? He didn't burst this hit because, well, this would be a pretty bad place to burst, right? The opponent hit us from like across the screen. So even if we burst here, we wouldn't have really gained anything in most players' minds, right? We wouldn't have really done much. We would just be like, I'm gonna burst, right? It's just like kind of full screen super kind of situation. Not really an optimal place to burst, right? And that's understandable. So we wait again. We wait and we wait. We got hit again here. Would this be a good place to burst? Also not really, right? We're not reducing any more damage by bursting here. We're just preventing ourselves from being knocked down. We technically do get up a couple seconds faster, but does this really give us much in the full scope of the game? Not really. So most people would also say this is a pretty bad place to burst, and so it makes sense that we're not bursting here. But look at our HP, 367, right? 367, 358 now, 358. It's basically impossible to get your second burst here. You have to just shield like the whole game. It's almost impossible. Okay. So, you know. So we get hit here by a random stray bullet, we burst, and you know, we do reduce a little bit of damage and we get up. So, you know, it's impossible to get another burst here. You know, this is our only burst, right? And does it really feel like we got a lot out of that burst? Not particularly. And you know, our partner died. That's not really important though. What's important is that this burst timing here was, you know, not what we wanted, right? Like, people might not realize this, but a lot of the game still really comes down to proper burst usage and understanding these subtle number differences, understanding the thresholds of where it starts to become very difficult to get your burst and where it doesn't become difficult to get your burst, right? And you know, there's lots of different factors, but you know, I mean, it doesn't really feel good to have to burst here, right? It shouldn't feel good to burst here. You're not really getting much out of it. You just like using it because, you know, you have one. At this actually situation, I'd almost suggest just not bursting. It's your only burst. You might as well wait for a better opportunity to burst. But certainly, the answer was to... So some people might say, oh, we should burst here at 600, right? Because we'll definitely get our burst. We'll definitely get our burst here. But, you know, it's okay to wait till this 510. And why is that? If you're so close to getting a full, you might as well wait to get a full. Now, not to defensive full, but in case people don't remember, what happens when you burst at neutral with a full is you actually get something that you don't normally. You actually get something that you don't normally. So... Oh, actually, he bursted at neutral, but then got hit by that beam. I forgot about that. So, here's the difference. This is pretty... two things I forgot to mention, by the way. I was going to look forward in this clip, but I realized here that he got hit at neutral. But first of all, if you defensive burst, you don't get your full time on your burst. You actually get less. If you defensive full, like to tech out, it actually takes a chunk of your burst gauge, so you technically also get a shorter burst. It's not a big deal, but it is a disadvantage. But the big one is... Well, I actually don't need to show you anything to say it, but... This is definitely still winnable by this point in the game, by the way. So the big one is if you full burst, you don't get 40% like you do if you half burst in blast. Yeah, you actually get a lot of boost if you full burst. You actually get 80%, I think, if you full burst in blast. Yeah, you get a lot. So it's pretty damn important to utilize a full burst, because your full burst basically is like a extreme versus vanilla half burst, because you refill almost all of your boost, right? So for example, there are many games that can be won because your opponent half bursts at you and doesn't realize you have a full burst, and then you full burst in response in like a low burst in a low boost situation, because you get so much more boost than the half burst. Yeah, so it's a really big deal, and it's actually game changing. And you know, some people don't really realize how much of a difference using the full burst is, but you should definitely be utilizing the full burst if you have it offensively. Honestly, the TLDR is that you should never burst defensively ever, because there are lots and lots of reasons for why you should be offensively using your burst. But the big one, right, is if we compare these defensive bursts are dictated by when you get hit, right? So the problem with waiting for your defensive full burst is that your timings are dictated by when you get hit, which is basically when the opponents feel like it, right? When they fire at you. So, I mean, the only situations we could have bursted are here, which is a pretty shitty place to burst. Here, which is a pretty shitty place to burst. Here, which is a pretty shitty place to burst. And I think we attempted to do one at neutral. We get hit here. That would also have been a pretty bad place to burst. And you know, there is also a pretty bad place to burst. So there would have been okay place to full burst maybe, because we're close by. You know, we would have gotten a landing punch maybe. But in any case, you can see that by holding onto your burst and choosing to do it at neutral, you yourself get to dictate when you want to burst. And that's the amount of control you get from just being able to say, I want to look for a good situation to burst, is the difference. That is the difference. That's why I recommend every single person to never defensive burst ever, unless you are playing 2.5k back. That's like kind of the only time you're really permitted to, and it's okay. But if you're 2k, you should be going for half bursts twice. If you're 3k, you should obviously be going for 3 halves, or if you can, otherwise 2. And if you do have a full, so basically if you do have a full, regardless of the suit, so if you're 2k and you died once and you have a full, if you're 3k and you died once and you have a full, if you're 3k and you bursted once and then you didn't get an opportunity to use your second, but you have a full now. If you're 2.5k and you have a full, it's a little bit different. But if you're 2.5k front, certainly if you're 1k, also if you're 1k, definitely, like, there's absolutely no excuse for defensive falling as a 1k, unless maybe you're like Ifrit and you really want the reversal burst, I guess. Which is, you know, not terrible. We could talk about reversal burst later, but yeah. Anyways, the point is, in all those scenarios, you should really be actively looking for places to burst to use your full burst. Use your full burst. Yeah, it's really, really important to use your full burst offensively. Use your full burst offensively. Okay, it may not feel like it makes a difference in the heat of battle. But if you look back at your replays, you should really try to imagine how the game flow would have changed if we had just used our burst, right? Because if I guarantee you, if you bursted, hold up, wait for it. I guarantee you, if you burst it right, you know, here, the game, or even, you know, here, or here, the game would have gone so much more differently. You would have probably hit Raft Clans here. You might have hit both of them and knocked them down. And then, you know, you would have died and come back in the game. And then you would have had another burst around, you know, here. You probably would have had a half instead of a full, right? Because, you know, 2 + 2 = 4. So 510. I was right when I said 500, by the way. Well, not counting the damage you take for the meter you gained from dealing damage, so, you know. 470, maybe? Anyways. So the damage you would have gotten a half here, your second half here, right? And then you could have used it anywhere, like here, before you land. Alright, whatever. Blah blah. And then, you know, you could have used your third. Well, I think the game is over because I think your partner dies really low, right? Yeah, okay. Well, you would have been able to use it there at some point as well, right? Anyways. So, burst. Really, really important part of the game. It's a really strategic part of the game. It's pretty critical to understand when to use it. So, you know, I just want to touch a bit on that. It's really important. So, most people are pretty bad at bursting, honestly. And that's not... I'm not saying that as a everybody's bad statement. I'm saying that as a... Using your burst optimally is difficult. Yeah. It's actually pretty difficult. We could probably look through like the Evo top 8 and probably every single person fucked up their burst usage. And bursting is really hard. Why is using your burst properly is hard? Well, your opponent is actively trying to make you fuck up, right? That's why most matches. Let's just pretend that we're playing a 3K here. Okay, so for a bit, regardless with front. Okay, this is about front play, honestly. But honestly, a lot of the game. So much of the game is dictated at this point. At this 160 HP mark, yeah. Much of the game is this is the point in the game where you have to play your best. So I will say that again. This point when you're at the threshold before you hit your first half, that is actually the point that matters almost effectively the most in the game, because it snowballs from here. This is a snowball effect. What happens is usually if it's really close and both players really on top of understanding burst usage and stuff like that, like the game really does tilt based on who gets this burst. Like, one of the players, especially when the life totals are really close, right? Like, one of the team's front players, they get their first at their optimal health, and they knock the other guy out of it, so then the other guy doesn't get a first half, and then he has to settle for like a full on the second, or even that, or just get really odd times, and the other guy successfully gets his half and doesn't take damage, so then he's got this really nice second half that he can use at any time, and then he has the second half to react to the opponent, who has to basically use their burst at a certain time, otherwise it's wasted, right? So it just snowballs. It just snowballs. The person who gets that successful first half really does have so much more of an advantage going into the second half of the game. Because first of all, they don't have to care what's going on their first 100 HP. Almost, right? Because they don't have a burst, so they're not wasting anything by taking damage, they're just taking damage. And like, okay, I don't even have like my burst up yet. It's whatever if you take damage, right? Obviously, once you start hitting that 500 mark, that 550 mark and you have your second half, right? You need to use it before you hit like 450, obviously, right? Like that's obviously really important. So and that's why, you know, the better you play in the beginning, the easier, the more lenience you have, the more leeway you have going into the second half of the game. You play really well on your first life, and you go into your first half at 200 HP, you know, 250, that's really hard, but like 200 HP, well, it's not hard if you're master, okay, but you know, if you're a typical 3K, you know, and you burst at 250 HP, oh, you're looking super good, right? Even if you take damage, you come out of that burst at 150, that's still super good, right? I mean, that's just great. You know, you don't want to be stuck at 100 HP, 50 HP when you have a burst and you're looking at it being like, do I burst here? If I burst here, then, you know, I'm not going to get my second till like 450. I'm going to have to shield a lot. If I want to get my third, should I go for my half? Should I just go for a half at 500? You know, what if they, you know, if they play around my full at full, not half. Do they play around my full at 500? If I don't do it well, you know, maybe it's better if I just burst here because this is a good opportunity. You know, blah blah blah. There's just so many factors about, you know, am I gonna even get a good chance to use my burst once things go downhill? This is why it's really crucial to play on point and really actively look for good opportunities to burst and understand when you gain it, etc., etc. Really crucial. So I just want to really emphasize that because it's important. So the TLDR about this is always use halves when you're playing front. Use fulls when you have to, and if you do have a full, make sure to offensively use it, and just make sure to offensively use it in general. Wait, is Robin Williams actually dead? It's on NBC News. Oh, it's... Damn, that's actually true? Damn. What's the cause of death? Monday morning. Is it Monday today? Today's Monday. Well, let's check Twitter. Let's see what Zelda Williams said. Nothing. Oh, she hasn't tweeted anything in a day. Yo, it was suicide? Yo. Well, anyways. Damn. Well, anyways, so back to Gundam. I'm gonna go ahead and bring up a different replay and talk about some different stuff, but definitely in that one, bursting. Let's go ahead and take a look at different replays. So what the? Okay, let's not watch that. Let's watch like this. Okay. So there's one more main thing I want to talk about in terms of St1ckBug's Banshee play. So maybe this game will have some more specific stuff I can talk about, because there's some stuff I want to go over. Okay, so definitely, like, yeah, okay, we're going to talk about that a bit. Yeah, okay, this is a good replay to talk about. I'm just going to talk about it right now. We're actually going to watch this replay while talking over the big one. So one big one is target locking, right? So you need to make sure that you don't stop looking at the person that your partner's hitting. Yeah. So like, where is it? Like, you know, there's no reason to like look at this guy here. Yeah, there's no reason to look at this guy either. You should really be looking at the other guy, you know, looking at the other guy and shooting the other guy. And then here, like, once Rav Clans lands a hit, you know, you should really be looking at the other guy. You shouldn't be staring at MLG Lord Knight this whole time. This, you know, it's really, really important. Look at the guy who's not being hit. Yeah. Let Rav Clans do his combo and don't touch the guy when Rav Clans definitely has it. Yeah. Yeah, again, like, okay, so this switch is good, at least. Yeah, so this is good. We even land that accidental MLG no scope on the other guy too. Okay, good cut. I'm really surprised he dropped that punch there. Okay, hold on a second. So yeah, so just about locking, you know, really try and focus on making sure you're looking at the person you need to look at. You know, make sure you're looking at, make sure you switch targets whenever your target gets hit by your partner. Don't just, you know, don't be a spectator, you know. Like don't just watch your partner like beating up the guy. Make sure you're switching targets and make sure you're doing things to help. Don't just, you know, sit there. Looking at this replay. Wait, is this the same one? Oh, sorry, hold up. This one? Or is this the one we just watched? That's the one we just watched. This one, I guess this is the double 3K one, right? Okay, we'll watch this one. I think this one has some micro stuff I want to talk about. On a plus note, I'd also recommend looking for more optimal combos with Banshee. And by optimal, I mean like more practical stuff, because you land a lot of boomerang hits and then you do like weird melee combos, and most of the time you get cut, or they just don't look very cut resistant. So I look for boomerang starter combos other than going into BC, so that you can, you know, that's good, so that you can have some control over when you actually need to get like knockdowns or when you're getting hit, because most of the time it seems like if there's a guy near you cutting you, he almost always cuts you. Yeah, like this stuff, like, yeah, you need to get a better, it's almost better just to do, you know, boomerang BR or something like that, you know, rather than going for these confirm. I mean, you know, the fact that you are confirming into melee is good. Like, it's good that you can confirm into them, but you don't always want to confirm into them, yeah. Yeah, like, you know, trying to go in for these melees after the CSAs and stuff like that, definitely, like, really try and, it's unfortunate. So, will we get another burst here? Yes or no? Well, the answer is no. We don't get another burst. 360. We don't get another burst, so let's just, you know, rewind. So so we were actually at 231 for a while. It would have been pretty okay to burst here, like, you know, here would have been okay. Going in there would have been okay. Here, when we engage Master, would have been okay. So we land a hit anyways. Here would have been okay. Here, yeah, I mean, that would have been nice. So at this point, we still get another burst if we use it, but dying here. So we actually basically kind of wasted burst because you get 41 HP, you know, puts us like here, and then the death burst actually puts us like over 100. So, so we might have been able to get a second burst even here. Hard to say. But we certainly, by dying here, like, seal off any possibility of getting another burst. Is one thing. But one of the things, okay, so here's one, definitely here, yeah. So one of the things, that's unfortunate. Oh, you do step that. Wait, really? Hold up. Wait, when do? Okay. So, like, did you boost cancel this? Oh, you're just kind of slow. I think if you had meleeed faster and stepped faster off that boomerang, you probably would have gotten him, honestly. Like, boomerang step 6B is a pretty strong option. Like, Banshee and burst in blast burst is really strong. I'm pretty sure you should have been able to, like, win this exchange. Luckily, we're saved. Ow. Okay. It's really sad that he doesn't die from this, by the way. It's, like, so sad he doesn't die from that. I can't believe he didn't die from that. But a big thing is here. So, like, having CSA held while you're in a precarious defensive situation is generally a bad idea because CSA makes you stop while moving, and it also means you can't throw your boomerang. It's a really big deal. You can't throw your boomerang while you have CSA held, so you need to throw your CSA held. So I'm sure many people will understand where I come from when I say that. A lot of the times, if you're being knocked down or chased and you end up having your CSA held accidentally, you feel like you've just got like a bomb and you have to let it go before you can do anything. It feels really gross a lot of time. So I generally recommend definitely trying not to always have your CSA held, and if you think that there's a situation where you're going to be chased and you need to defend yourself, not to have your CSA held so that you have access to, you know, your BR and your boomerang. Because, you know, I mean, we end up landing. Oh, we just throw it away and then we get a boomerang hit, which is good. But, you know, it's kind of a gross feeling. So I recommend trying to focus on not having that held if you don't want it. Again, really sad he doesn't die here. But let me see if there's one other match before I talk about the other micro thing. What is this? X3 and full cloth. I think we watched this already. Yeah. So this one then, right? It's the other one. Did we watch this? An Ethernet cable is not connected. Okay, we didn't watch this. This is while my internet was down. I was recording the rest of them. Close range CSA is really good, but you also have Boomerang. Ah, it's unfortunate. Boomerang. Please. Oh, that's kind of unfortunate too. Yeah, actually we could have honestly had that situation. Really good running. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so this stuff. So I guess I talked a lot about some macro things. I haven't really touched on things like positioning too much, especially because like most of these games, you're with like. If you're playing 3.3, when you were playing with the 3K, most of the games were like your 3K partner was kind of just like running in and beating them up, and then it's like not really as applicable what I wanted to talk about when you're playing Banshee Front in terms of positioning. So but one of the things I really want to touch on is this. This is pretty easily fixable, and so this. So 1ckBug, you have a habit, you have a very common habit of doing verniered moves at the apex of your jump. At the apex of your jump. So you tend to do like a boost hop, and then fire a CSA, or a boost hop, and then like boost dash. And one of the things I want to talk about is trying to do risky things lower to the ground, basically, so that because from an opponent's perspective, if they see you at the top of the sky and you're like doing all this stuff, they don't really like need to think about what you're doing because it's really obvious you can't land. So they don't need to really like worry about you, because you're kind of like, when you're that high in the air, you're doing that stuff, you're just kind of self-destructing basically. You're wasting a lot of your defensive properties, I guess I'll say, by canceling them early into other things. So the common one is the boost hop, right? So the boost hop, you know, well, here's a perfect example, just this maneuver, right? Boost hop into CSA, into boost dash, into land. I mean, that's a pretty, like, that's a pretty inefficient maneuver, because we shot one CSA, and we didn't really get that much defensive maneuverability either, and we spent half burst, right? Okay, so Robin Williams is like definitely dead, because Twitter is like pretty all over the place. Anyways, so, you know, I would say if you're gonna do things like boost dash cancel and do stuff in boost dash cancel, you guys want to have a Robin Williams night? We should just do a Robin Williams night. Anyways, where was I? We already watched Jumanji though. Evangelion Marathon, that was his favorite anime. Sorry, okay, I'm tripping. Let me finish my thought. Right, so doing things like boost hopping and then firing a CSA, boost dash canceling, or just I think I see you some other times. Let me see if I can find like a replay where you do it, where you do like boost hop and then you just boost dash at the top. Actually, you know, it's easier if I just like show you rather than waste time looking for it, because I remember pretty clearly. So, okay. Can I mute this? I can't. I'll just mute my... I'll just mute the capture in general. Okay. So, like... I'm just gonna show you some of the things I see you do, and I'll just talk about why you shouldn't do them, basically. So the big one is obviously you do like this, like. So this kind of maneuver is pretty wasteful, even when you're glitching. I also see you kind of do like this. So the one boost top into boost dash. That kind of thing. So I would really encourage you to just be more conservative and just do more of this, you know. Rather than, or if you're gonna do, you know, if you do stuff like this. If you're gonna use CSA, like more of just staying low to the ground to use it. Rather than unnecessarily putting yourself kind of at disadvantage by doing this stuff. Because being high to the ground as a back player, like, you know, being up here and stuff is not really helping. You might as well wait till you come back down. Because if you look at this motion, right, like you basically have defensive property, sort of. You have some defensive, you know, you're kind of able to avoid some stuff just the whole way down to the arc. So if you're gonna use it, you know, use it. You know, there's no reason to like rush things. Basically, you know, because you're sacrificing a lot by just doing this boost top, and then if you're not getting the full, you know, defense off of it, it's kind of. If you're not gonna actually wait till you come back down, then you should just do this, because it's gonna be about the same, right? Like if you compare it to like this, because then you have to fall all the way back down, and it's a lot easier to get lane punish. Also, if you like do this, then you're pretty low on boost if you do that, right? If you do like, yeah, look how little boost you have there. It's pretty hard to do stuff, you know. Similarly, just like with using random AC, like just be careful about using it because it does cause vernier. So vernier management with Banshee is kind of like one of the biggest things. So I would definitely recommend just more of like more passive safe poking with BR basically. What else? Oh, I didn't set it on time. Well, I'll just wait for time to come out. Oops. Is that command list always there? Shit. Let's see. I think that's honestly the big things that I want to talk about. Anything else? Again, try and look for practical combos, especially off of Boomerang Starter, as you tend to drop those a lot. And just more emphasis on basic, you know, BR stuff. Also, you know, again, all the burst stuff I said. And also, when you're in perma NTD mode, being in perma NTD mode is really good. So you really want to try and live as long as you can in perma NTD mode. Don't be so aggressive and throw yourself away once you're in that mode. Once you're in perma NTD mode, that's actually kind of your place to shine. So really try and let your perma NTD mode last as long as you can, basically. Anything else? Sometimes I see you don't really use BC that much outside of combos. So there's also a lot of situations where I'd recommend using BC aggressively. It's nice that you're not, because honestly, like, you know, I'd rather you be conservative about your BC usage rather than, like, you know, throwing it out like a scrub. But you know, BC is really good, and you know, you should throw it out sometimes, especially when you feel like they are too scared of you to fight back. If you don't think they're going to disrespect you, then you should definitely be greedy sometimes and use BC, because that's kind of what it is, kind of greedy move. You know, it's just kind of like, you know, it's like a command throw, right? I mean, it's better. I'm glad that you're not someone who just runs up and mashes Gordo command throw all day, but you should definitely use it because it's a very powerful move. And if people aren't respecting you, then you should definitely, you know, at the very least, make sure that they're aware of your option, you know, that kind of thing. Anything else? Yeah, I think the big one is not doing that. Like, not doing this boost dash. If you're gonna do stuff and you boost hop, just make sure to do it at the bottom. There's no reason to do it at the top. It just makes you high in the sky for no real reason. It just makes you more vulnerable, makes it easier for people to landing punch you. I guess last thing is, let me just go back to the replays and let me see if there's like any spacing things we wanted to look at. I guess, let's see. Take a look at like this one. Or maybe this one. Just scrub through it. Yeah, okay. I mean, you definitely stay in green lock sometimes. So you do want to be a little bit more on point with your spacing. Surprised to get it there, honestly. Yeah, this game is pretty straightforward. Let's see the other one. For spacing, I'm not really going to talk about front, because, you know, Banshees should really be played back with a 3K if possible, so I'd rather talk about that. Yeah, this is good though, spacing-wise. Nothing really wrong here. It would be nice to move maybe closer this way and cut them off. But I think at this point in your play, I think it's more important to really focus on. So here, cutting left is definitely important. Yeah, this is fine too, but definitely don't move. Not moving right is good. This is kind of unfortunate. You get caught. Yeah, it's fine. It's kind of questionable, but I think your partner picks it up anyways. Yeah, so it's not. I'm not really gonna talk too much about spacing. I will say that generally you should try and be more. You should look at your main map more, but I think at this point it's more important to focus on your burst management and your kind of vernier management when you use boost dashing and when you use your CSA and your various tools. After that, we can go into more detail about positioning and stuff. Especially like here, like you kind of move towards the wall here. It's not really the best thing to do. Moving towards raft clans would have been better here, as you kind of throw yourself at the wall. I also don't really know about popping NTD there, but yeah, I mean, well, could have been worse. Get a burst here too, would have been really nice to use it. But, you know, I mean, you don't have to use your burst in 215K, you can get the half since it's like stable. But you do have to be aware of situations where getting hit once will just kill you before you can use your full. That is a thing. And you use it to run, that's pretty fair. So yeah, so I think that's honestly about it. So just to recap, using your bursts, definitely try and focus on, you know, if you're playing front, using your half when you can, and if you have your full, try and use it offensively. It's mainly a front thing because when you're back, you know, defensive full is much more of a viable option, and a lot of people prefer it. But definitely if you're playing front, definitely try and switch it up. Make sure you use your halves when you can. Be conscious of what HP you're at, and use your fulls if you have them offensively, not defensively. And just really try and fix those micro things. So about movement, you know, try not to do stuff at the apex of your boost top when you can, you know, manage it. You tend to throw out CSAs without really like thinking about them, which is fine. But if you're gonna like kind of just spam CSA stuff, stay lower to the ground so that people can't just as easily, you know, run up to you and punish you for it. I think that's pretty much it as far as this goes. So in case you guys don't know, we will have another Second Impact in, let me take a look at my calendar, I believe on the 25th. I'm not 100% sure of that, but most likely on the 25th. If not, then after I come back from East Coast on the 8th, I think. Also, definitely look out. I believe sometime in the first or second week of August, or first or second week of September, we will be doing a another Japan versus America collaboration event. So we'll be having a couple teams from the US play against people in Japan from St1ckBug Extreme. If you guys caught that from, you know, the previous month or two, we'll be doing that again. So I'll let you guys know more details as we kind of hammer those out. Most likely, though, the participating teams on the American side will be the top 3 teams from Sky Slam's event. So Sky Slam is doing this thing on Team ABC where he's doing like a 10-team round-robin exhibition series. So the highest placing teams on that will probably be the ones that participate as the US reps. So more about that in the future as I get those details hammered out. But I'm going to stop here for now. So thanks for watching, and hopefully this helped people. And, you know, again, if you are somebody who wants your replays looked at, or, you know, you just want a second perspective about how to either, you know, change up your game a bit or figure things out, or something's not working out for you, let me know. Feel free. There is a thread on Dust Loop for Second Impact, so check that out. You can send them to me via email or contact me specifically about advice. So I will see you guys later. I'll probably be streaming later tonight, but for now I'm going to take a break and I'll be back. So thanks for watching.